Mark my words that to be comfortable, you have to be uncomfortable. To be happy, you have to be sad. To be fulfilled, you have to be unfulfilled. And to be satisfied, you need to be dissatisfied. Now, you can be dissatisfied on your deathbed, and then finally the lights go off, but then you're too old and too unhealthy to do anything about it. Or you can take it upon yourself to prioritize your self-development, your well-being, your internal satisfaction with yourself and the life that you're living now. Take it upon yourself. Instead of going to university to learn a doctrine on whatever it is and get a master's and PhD in a subject, get your PhD and master's in yourself. Make yourself the priority. I could be cheesy and say, you're worth it. But you are worth it. And beyond being worth it, there's nothing more gratifying than investing time, money, and energy into yourself, in prioritizing the needs of this human body and all the intricacies of the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit, all the things that come attached to being a human. By prioritizing those needs that are yours and that are your responsibility, it's where most people just, it doesn't click, the penny doesn't drop. And it's my plea that with this video, you take action. Start putting in your diary times of solitude. It's not hard. The only hard thing about it is that you're confronted with a choice to watch Home and Away, or to watch some bullshit program, or to go have coffee with Jenny. Instead of the choice of saying, no, I'm going to be by myself this afternoon. I'm going to be by myself for this weekend. I'm going to be by myself for the next 6 months to a year to 4 years, which is what I did. There's nothing to be afraid of when you're alone. It's the complete opposite. Yes, for the millionth time, I will admit that being by yourself for the first time is incredibly uncomfortable and will drive you to the brink of death. Literally. Hopefully you're not as stubborn as I was, but I was pretty stubborn and it did take me to that place. But such a short period of uncomfortability, 6 months max, while living in the worst conditions you could live in the freezing cold winter of the UK, you realise that it's all worth it. And that time by yourself, solitude, you get all the answers. You get every single answer that you want and that will propel you, that you're unaware of. Obviously, you don't know what answers you need, otherwise you'd be asking the questions. As Tony Robbins says, it's the ability to ask good questions that gives you the good answers. Most of you don't even know what questions to be asking out of just stubbornness and ignorance. But solitude gives you the good questions to start asking in the form of anxiety, in the form of depression, in the form of these emotions that make you feel like shit. That gives you the motivation and inspiration to start asking questions, to start provoking yourself, to start looking for changes. That's all your emotions are there for, to show you, to guide you. But you don't get any of that guidance when you're constantly thinking. You don't get any guidance when you're constantly doing and catching up and watching television and preoccupying your mind with which handbag and what color lipstick you should be getting, or what car or what mountain bike or whatever. When you're thinking, you're not feeling. And if you're not feeling, you're not connected. And if you're not connected, you're not being guided. And if you're not being guided, life is hard. Life is treacherous. Unexpected challenges come up that feel like, you're this lonely person in the middle of the desert, and you start wondering, why me? The victim mentality comes out when you go in the wrong direction. And people will break up with you, and you'll have bills to pay, and you'll lose your job, and your partner will cheat on you, and the list goes on and on and on when you're not connected. And I just spelled it out to you. The reason why you've got bad luck in your life is because you're thinking too much and not feeling. There we go. Get that pipe out. If you're thinking, you're telling the universe, I've got this covered. I know it all. I've got this. I don't need any help. I'm fine by myself. I know it all. I'm up here. I'm Mr. Einstein. Just remember that even Mr. Einstein, that came out with, there was no one smarter than Mr. Einstein, right? He came up with every solution and equation and formula that there was to solve. He solved it. But even he said that the answers are beyond the mind. Now, he didn't phrase that, but his analysis, his conclusion of being too heady was that it was beyond what could be comprehended. So if you're thinking and constantly analyzing and contemplating too much of the external world around you and your next move, and you're very much frustrated and you get a lot of headaches and you're constantly stewing over things and analyzing and got anxiety and you just can't stop thinking that it's out of control, just know that if you want to play life like that you're going to be clawing through mud. And if you want to be running on water like our good friend Jesus Christ, you want to quickly get in touch with your emotions and your feeling state and know the difference of what it is when I say thinking and feeling. If you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, you better quick smart use meditation as a tool to detach, to slow down, to break away from what your thoughts are so that you can get somewhat of silence. And in that silence, you will start to understand what I mean by feeling. I live life through my gut. I'm eating through my gut. Every choice I make, I try and think, should I get this? Should I get that? And when I quickly snap out of that and be like, what should I do? And just breathe on it, breathe into it and just take a moment. That one or the other is going to feel more right than the other one. So I always go with that choice. And that can be in every decision you make and should be in every decision you make. And if you're not prioritizing, if your life doesn't revolve around you, get that pipe out. If your life doesn't revolve around every decision in your life, every action in your life, every thought in your life, if it isn't about you and what you should be doing and what's best for you and what will make you happiest, if that isn't happening, you'll be clawing through mud. Relationships will suck. Your career will suck. Your happiness will be void. You have to prioritize every decision in your life around you. You got kids? Great. Show them what it's like to be a responsible, mature adult who prioritizes themselves. Show them what true self-love is. Show them what a responsible person is. You probably had kids. You definitely had kids at the wrong time. You were not ready to have kids. You haven't parented your own self, and you're having kids and you're going to go and parent someone else. You're not qualified for that. But we can't turn back time and we can't take away your kids. So you're best to start doing the right thing now instead of showing them that they're the priority and that your health suffers and that your mental health suffers and that your satisfaction with life suffers and that you end up being, they look to mummy and she may have the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches made and that's all good because they're fed and you're brushing their teeth and you're giving them nice clothes and they look the part. But when they look up to mummy and they energetically have a look and see, oh, how should I be when I grow up? And they see this grumpy, moody, dissatisfied, blanket-faced person who's just a robot doing things for the sake of doing things so that the kids are fed and looked after. You're very much replicating. You're giving them a great opportunity to turn out to be like you. An unsatisfied adult who is at the service, at the slavery of their husband, wife, and children. Break the cycle. Break the cycle. Make yourself the priority. You are worth it. But beyond that, it's very much necessary that if you want the circumstances in your life to change, your life has to be revolved around you. The choices in your life have to reflect the well-being and happiness and health of yourself.